Homer Simpson isn't just funny, his intelligence keeps changing in strange ways. Sometimes he's a genius, sometimes not so much. But what does it all mean? Join us as we break down all 6 levels of Homer's intelligence explained in simple detail. At level 1, almost functioning adult. Homer acts like someone who could handle daily life even if he messes up often. These episodes are rare and they mostly appear in the early seasons, back when Homer was still shown as a clueless but caring father. In Homer vs. Lisa and the 80th Commandment, he's not very clever, but he shows just enough understanding to know that stealing cable isn't a good example for his children. When he quietly turns off the illegal cable box without saying anything, it's one of those rare times where Homer shows he can think deeply and choose what's right. In Lisa's Substitute, he struggles to connect with Lisa, but at the end, he gives her one simple line, "You are Lisa Simpson." That proves he knows when to stop talking and just be present. Even when he doesn't know what to say, he understands that effort matters. This version of Homer also appears in flashback episodes. The show paints him as a clumsy but hardworking young man who doesn't always make smart choices, but tries anyway. In The Way We Was, he's a teenager with few skills, yet he works multiple low-paying jobs just to impress Marge. His plans are silly, but his heart is in the right place. Later in Homer the Smithers, he fills in as Mr. Burns' assistant. He's not good at it. He makes a mess of things, but he still tries to be helpful and respectful. Even Mr. Burns, who looks down on almost everyone, admits Homer helped him in his own way. That's what makes this level different. Homer isn't smart, but he's not a joke either. He's unsure about the world, but not lost in it. Next comes level 2 of Homer's intelligence, lazy but capable. A version of Homer who still makes bad choices, but who can do better when pushed. He isn't sharp, but he's not completely helpless. If there's something in it for him, or if someone he loves really needs him, he'll step up. In Mister Plow, Homer starts his own snow-clearing business. He picks the name, advertises it, drives around town, and even gets real customers. He actually runs the business for a while and does well. It doesn't last, of course. He eventually ruins it with bad decisions. But for a brief time, he shows he can take charge when he wants to. But that's not all. One of the best examples of this is Homer, when doctors discover a crayon lodged in Homer's brain. After removing it, he becomes smarter, calm, careful, and able to understand complex ideas. He even connects with Lisa in a way he never could before. But being smart makes him unhappy. He sees problems everywhere and loses his joy. In the end, he puts the crayon back into his brain, choosing to be dim-witted again. This episode is funny, but also sad. It shows that Homer has the ability to think clearly, but he's more comfortable being simple. Deep down, he would rather enjoy life than think too hard about it. You also see this version of Homer in smaller moments. As a safety inspector at the nuclear power plant, he somehow keeps the job year after year, even though he barely understands what he's doing. But now and then he mentions something technical or pushes the right button, which suggests he knows more than he shows. In Lisa the Geek, he bonds with Lisa over football predictions. He doesn't become a genius, but he understands enough about the sport to make accurate guesses and impress his daughter. This is the version of Homer that isn't bright, but who can still figure things out when it matters. He remembers birthdays, makes plans, and sometimes learns from his mistakes. When he falls short, it's often because he just doesn't care enough to try, not because his brain can't do the work. But things take a turn at level 3, dumb but lucky, when Homer seems to stop thinking altogether, but still wins in the end. This is the version most fans know best. The silly man who stumbles into big moments, survives impossible situations, and walks away with a smile. In Deep Space Homer, NASA picks him not for his skills, but because they want an average guy to boost TV ratings. He's clearly the wrong choice, but somehow he doesn't crash the shuttle or get anyone killed. In fact, he saves the day by eating floating potato chips before they hit important buttons. He has no idea how the spaceship works, but everything goes his way. You see the same kind of luck in Homer versus the 18th Amendment. When alcohol becomes illegal again in Springfield, Homer accidentally becomes the town's biggest bootlegger. He doesn't know much about the law, and he doesn't fully understand how to make alcohol, yet he still builds a secret pipeline under his house. The story treats him like a clever rebel, but really he's just winging it. And somehow it works. In You Only Move Twice, Homer gets a new job with a friendly boss named Hank Scorpio. What he doesn't realize and never figures out is that Scorpio is a supervillain building deadly weapons. Homer is completely clueless about what's going on. He just loves the free hammocks. These stories make it feel like Homer has some invisible force protecting him, no matter how bad his judgment is. Things turn out fine. He wins awards by mistake, he gets promotions he didn't ask for, he becomes a hero for doing almost nothing. The writers use this version when they want Homer to succeed, but don't want him to earn it. And it works because he's not dangerous or cruel, he's too simple to plan anything evil. When Homer wins, the audience laughs instead of getting angry because it's clear he didn't do it on purpose. This kind of luck shows up in little moments too. Homer doesn't read warnings, ignores instructions, and often forgets what he's supposed to be doing. Yet things somehow work out. If his car runs out of gas, he ends up near a gas station. If he loses his job, he finds a better one. If he forgets an anniversary, Marge still forgives him. His success never really comes from effort. It just happens. There's no real thinking behind it, just a strange kind of protection built into the world around him. This version of Homer isn't the most emotional, but he's the easiest to use for fun stories. But this can only go so far because after this level, things get worse. By the time Homer gets through his lucky breaks and small wins, things begin to change. His stupidity becomes clearer, not just as something to laugh at, but as part of who he is. He stops being a man who just makes bad choices and starts acting like someone who never really grew up. The fourth level of his intelligence shows this perfectly. At level 4, childlike thinking, Homer starts acting like a confused child pretending to be a grown-up than an actual man. The way he thinks, feels, and behaves is mostly based on what he wants at the moment. He gets distracted easily, holds silly grudges, and throws tantrums when he doesn't get what he wants. In the episode Bart Star, for example, he demands to be the quarterback of Bart's football team, not the coach, but the person who plays the main position just because he wants to feel important. He yells at kids, argues with referees, and sulks when people don't clap for him. This version of Homer shows up again in Make Room for Lisa, when he has to share a room with Lisa, but instead of being the grown-up, he whines and complains, acting like everything is a personal attack. He refuses to adjust, doesn't think about Lisa's feelings, and behaves like a victim until Lisa, his own daughter, has to take charge and solve the problem. That role reversal where the child has to be more mature than the father happens in many other episodes. Homer's love for comfort, his need for donuts, naps, beer, and cartoons shows a mindset that's still stuck in early childhood, where happiness means getting what you want right away and never thinking about what comes next. He also treats Marge more like a mother than a wife. She's the only one who picks his clothes, reminds him of birthdays, calms him down when he throws fits, and says sorry to strangers when he messes up. In Homer Alone, Marge actually has to leave the house just to get a break from him because Homer acts like every chore is someone else's job. He doesn't treat her like a partner. He treats her like someone whose job is to take care of him. And when she gets upset, Homer reacts like a child being scolded. This version of Homer still wants to be loved, but he doesn't know how to act in a way that earns love. He thinks love is something people give him just for being there. But even this level of childishness doesn't last. After this, Homer's mind gets worse, and that leads to something even more extreme. That's level 5, comically brain dead. This is the version of Homer where his mind seems totally broken. He's not just lazy or childish anymore. He's so stupid that it becomes dangerous. His thoughts don't connect. His memory doesn't work. His choices are not just bad, they don't even make sense in the real world. One of the clearest examples is Homer goes to college. He gets accepted into a university, but instead of taking it seriously, he treats it like a silly movie from the 1980s. He thinks there will be food fights, bullies, and wacky pranks, even though no one else around him acts that way. Instead of going to class or studying, he kidnaps one of the nerdy students and sets off fire alarms. He doesn't just misunderstand college life, he refuses to see it any other way than what he imagined. At this point, his brain has lost touch with reality. In the computer wore Menace shoes, Homer starts a blog full of fake stories and wrong facts, yet people still follow it. When he runs out of things to say, he just smashes the keyboard with his fists, and readers still believe him. He's so far gone that the world around him starts acting like his nonsense is real. His brain can't think in a straight line anymore. He forgets things he once knew, mixes up names, and stares blankly when others talk to him. Sometimes he doesn't recognize his kids. He walks off during conversations. He eats random things like batteries or toys. He even forgets where Maggie is and leaves her on the roof. The show even gives a clue that his brain might really be damaged. In Homer, when doctors remove a crayon from his brain, Homer suddenly becomes smart again. But when they put it back in, he turns back into his usual self, which suggests he's been walking around with brain damage the whole time. And sadly, this broken version of Homer, which used to be rare, starts becoming normal. His mental issues stop being a joke and start becoming a part of who he is. He can't follow maps. He forgets what he's doing seconds earlier. He keeps saying the same things over and over again. And even this isn't the lowest point. There's one more level where Homer stops even trying to make sense. At level 6, deliberately rewritten stupidity. Homer becomes whatever the episode needs, even if it doesn't match anything we've seen before. In that 90s show, the show changes Homer's past and says he used to be a grunge rock star who started a band that sounded like Nirvana. He also loses Marge to her college professor. None of this fits with past episodes. Suddenly, Homer knows how to sing, play music, and lead a band. Skills he's never had before. But the shocking truth is that the episode doesn't even try to explain the change. Another example is Homer Simpson in kidney trouble. Homer finds out that Grandpa needs a kidney and promises to donate his. But at the last second he runs away, he doesn't just struggle with fear or morality. He runs away. It's not even selfishness. It's like he doesn't understand what a kidney is. Later he crashes a car, gets hurt, and ends up donating the kidney by accident. Then there's the principal and the pauper. Homer and the rest of the town join in a plan to pretend that Principal Skinner is really somebody else. Nobody questions it. Everyone agrees to forget the truth and move on. The story ends like a comedy sketch. The version of Homer doesn't react to the world around him. He just floats through it. He doesn't remember past events. He doesn't remember anything. His personality resets every week, and sometimes even in the middle of an episode. Can you think of any other levels of Homer's intelligence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and supporting our channel. Click the next video on your screen to dive into another exciting Simpsons story.